Welcome to episode 9 of Uprise Stories. Today we're talking to Caroline Dupont, a successful consultant who's always had an urge to explore the world of entrepreneurship but not quite known how. Now she's working on her venture alongside her role as a consultant to build a concierge service for everyone. Her mission is to give people back valuable time so they can spend longer doing the things they really love in life. We talk about the key things she's learned from pursuing an entrepreneurial path and how her mindset has changed and grown over the past few months. So without further ado, here's Caroline. So Caroline, welcome to Uprise Stories. Really excited to chat to you today about everything that you're up to and the journey that you've been on so far. Obviously joined here by Kyle as well from Uprise Academy, who's kind of helped you through this whole process. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for asking me to do that, to share a little bit of the adventure I lived during 3 months.
Of course. So I want to kind of start by going back right to, I guess, the beginning of your journey, sort of before you started this program, and kind of understand a little bit more about what drove you to start exploring different options of, sort of launching your own idea and things like that, because it's obviously quite a big thing to undertake. So now I'm keen to know what drove you to explore launching a new project.
So I joined the Uprise program because I wanted to do more than I was actually doing, and I was thinking about my current job and what I want to do in the future, and also I wanted to have more impact, to do something more that drives me, rather than just doing my current job. And I looked on the internet and I found this program that could give me the basics, or try to make me understand what's entrepreneurship, give me the clues to be able to take action on my inner feelings, let's say that. And that's the reason why I went into that journey of entrepreneurship. But I always have been, keen on owning my own company, or having my own idea, and being able to live from that. So I guess it's something that comes from the right beginning of my life, but I just started this journey.
That's interesting. Why do you think it was the right time? Kind of what, if it's something that you've been thinking about for a long time, this idea of sort of starting your own company and stuff like that, what was it that kind of finally tipped you over the edge to think, right, now is the time to start something and kind of jump off the cliff, so to speak?
I think because of Corona, everyone was also at home, and you just realize that there's more than just your random life, and I'm 27, and I arrive also at some point where I need to decide whether I want to have like a random career, let's say, like a 9-to-5 job and just do the job and, it's fine, or maybe take a little bit of risks also, get knowledge and meet people and try to enter the unknown, and this is something that drives me a lot, the unknown, trying to overcome, the feelings, okay, I want to do it, but I don't know if I want to do it. And I guess it was the right time, because I had some time because of the partial, work also. And I found Uprise also, and, it gives the right push in the back, let's say. So that's fine.
How different did you find the process? Obviously you consult to some really interesting big organizations in what you do and have quite a successful career in consulting. What then do you think it was different about the entrepreneurship way of thinking? The way in which, as opposed to thinking in these big grand frameworks or systems, or going in and fixing things and transforming organizations, what was it like to actually start thinking from the grassroots level?
I think the main difference is when you work as a consultant, you have to follow some rules, some knowledge that exists for 1,000 years, and listen to top bosses and so on. With entrepreneurship, you firstly have to know yourself. That's what I discovered. mostly. If you don't know yourself, if you don't know what you're really looking for, what really matters for you and what's interesting for you, then your idea or whatever you're trying to achieve is not going to work. And that's a main difference, I would say. You need to know the personal side of you to do the professional side of you. And also, being an entrepreneur means being part of a community, means you need to exchange, you need to debate, you need to speak about maybe sometimes the weather, just to give you an idea about something that you could do to improve the weather, for instance. So the community and the exchange, the talks are different from the consulting, where it's more you listen and then you do something. I don't know if it's
That
clear.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. How did you kind of cope with, I don't know if you kind of learned anything or used anything, where you've obviously gone through this shift of, you know, learning something and sort of being told what to do and having a very clear path, to all of a sudden being very much in the unknown and having to sort of figure things out for yourself a little bit. How did you feel about that, and like how did you cope with that shift?
At the beginning, it was quite interesting. By interesting, I mean frightening, because you want to do something, but you have no idea what, and you can't grab something just to say, oh, okay, have like a security blanket or a network that can help me process. So I think I just follow the different steps that the program explained us. Just take the time, try to go, as you want, follow your path, trying to understand what was my real need and my real aim. And also I exchanged a lot with a lot of people. I read a lot of stories, good and bad stories. Because entrepreneurship, it's not like in a quick step that you're gonna build everything. You need to try, and that's a lot of people skills, I would say, that help you enter the entrepreneurship world. If you compare to the professional way, I would say that. But I mean, I'm still in that stage also where you want to launch it and you're developing it, but at the same time, that you have to secure yourself, and try to be able to launch something that's good. You don't want to be out in the street or in the world and have a product or an idea that's not super cool. So working with the uncertainty, I think it's part of being an entrepreneur, and you need to know that if you wanna do that, I would say.
From a personal perspective, what I think talking a lot about alignment in terms of purpose with actually delivering a company. It's those late nights when it's 2 a.m. and you're sort of bringing a company to life, or you're having an awkward conversation with someone who potentially could be a client or a colleague or collaborator in some way, as you start looking forward towards the future. As you were starting to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Which is a luxury these days for a lot of people. They don't give themselves the permission to do that. What was a mechanism that you found really useful to actually allow yourself to unpack what matters to you?
I think it's pretty simple. I want to move on from my current status and my current life, So I think at some point you just need to accept that maybe it's uncomfortable, to work on an entrepreneurship project when you have a day-to-day job, on the side. For me, I just realized that it's something that brings me more than it takes. I don't know if it's something clear, but it gives me empowerment, because I know that I'm gonna push myself, and if it's up to 2 in the AM or 3, it's gonna make my brain function, and at the end, I know I'm gonna project something and deliver something that will make me happy, and I will be further than I am now. So I guess it's like the race and the carrot. You know, you have to have a goal that motivates you to do that. And for me, it was that being able to say, okay, in 2 or 3 months, I will be able to have something almost ready to start the entrepreneurship career and the process.
So tell us a little bit about, I suppose, your journey before Uprise, in terms of, yeah, how do you think that those components, maybe serendipitously, maybe intentionally, got you to where you are now? You know, was it a case of you deciding you wanted to study business at some point and then figuring out how have you run micro experiments within your life already that in some ways kind of prepared you for what you're doing now?
I guess before Uprise, I looked a lot on the internet, you know, of interviews. I exchanged with people that weren't freelance before, you know, and then they launched a company. Then again, discussing with people that are already in the environment help you get a really good insight of what's actually being an entrepreneur. Because you can also be an entrepreneur while having a day-to-day job also, you know, you can have both. So for me, before it was more looking and understanding how it works, you know, what's a business plan, how I work with my idea, what are the steps, you know, so I knew what was an MVP or all the words and the keywords that you guys gave us, but it was just knowing, you know, getting the small part of the iceberg, you know. So it was more culture about entrepreneurship, and that's how the more I look at that and the more I dig into that I knew that is something that really fits my personality and the things that I want to do.
Yeah, I think this idea of what you focus on expands, right? And I think interestingly, it's that idea of, well, there's clearly something magnetic that's pulling you towards that space. Yeah,
it's that kind of, I think that's so important to like that concept of kind of giving yourself permission and giving yourself space to like explore what's interesting to you, and kind of just seeing where it goes, just with an open mind, not necessarily having, you know, when you first start researching things, you haven't necessarily got this huge goal in mind, but actually just kind of exploring it and seeing where it goes. And the more you kind of get into it, I guess, yeah, as you said, the more
exactly
you get into it.
It's just looking at the menu, you know, and trying to see, okay, that looks so interesting, or and so on, and then you get really excited about it, and then you want to take action, really, and that's why, you know, you go to Uprise and you go to the program.
Nice. So, I mean, can you explain to everyone actually what it is that you're working on?
Yes. So I want to develop, I mean, I'm developing, that's better, a concierge for everyone. So the idea is basically to be able to, as I said many times to Kyle, to be able to take a rock outside the backpack of everyone in a day-to-day life. So there's concierge for luxury that exists a lot, for companies also, but as a day-to-day, like it's a mix between a personal assistant and a concierge that would allow you to take the time you need to do stuff that really matters to you. So services could go from typically doing the picking up the kids, or organizing events for the people, or being able to help them, as I am a consultant, with their day-to-day time management also. So it's also bonding a relationship with people, you know, in order to be their personal Caroline, I would say that. So it's still in the process of, you know, finishing and making it really cool. But the idea is that a concierge for everyone, probably in Paris first, But because of COVID, it's uncertain, and maybe it's going to be online at first. But that's the idea of it, to take the worry of the people and do it for them.
So where does that idea come from for you? So for you as an individual, how does that align with what your skill set is and where you'd like to take that, your personal mission? We talk a lot about, sort of your personal narrative.
Yeah.
How does that align?
I just realized that, especially in France or in Paris, a lot of people usually tell you, I don't have time, and time is really consuming. So there's a market for you to be able to reduce the time that you take to do all the chores and all the stuff that you don't really like to do as a person. And for me, I would like to be able to do that as a day-to-day job, because I would know that I would help the people. And that's something that really makes who I am, being able to help others by making them happy. And being a concierge does that, basically you do the chores that no one wants to do, except the event management, for instance, which I really like to do. But that's the idea behind. In my day-to-day life, I would really like someone to do that for me, being able to call a Caroline this, and being like, okay, can you help me with that? Or would you have 2 hours of your time to be able to do that? So it exists from different websites. But for me, there would be a specific relationship, it's a one-to-one contract with the person. And it's really like a concierge, so someone that you can really rely on, even if the services that I suggest, you want an extra service, that would be also something possible to do.
Yeah. So what were some of the challenges initially, and when you were when the idea started to settle,
Yes.
you were like, I'm committing to this. What were some of the challenges, and how did you overcome them?
The scope is too broad, is really too broad. When you start with an idea, you want to do it all. You want to do this and that way, and you don't really know how to narrow it down. So then again, exchanging with other people, trying to look at what the market proposes, what's actually interesting or not. Then you can narrow it down, the services or the products that you wanna offer. So that's a big challenge. It takes some time. The other one is also facing the you don't really know if you're gonna achieve the idea and achieve the company you want to develop. There's that stage where you have plenty of ideas, you want to do it, but you kind of think that it's not going to happen. I don't really know how to, what's the exact term, but it's like you do a job and you don't know anything about it, so maybe you're going to not do it,
Yeah.
And then again, it's a small feeling. But once you try and once you speak about your idea to other people and they give you feedback, positive feedback or negative feedback, it starts to be true. It starts to feel real, and then you're confident that even if it's not going to work, you're still going to do it.
Yeah.
So the challenge is like that, like feeling ups and downs. That's the proper thing I wanted to say. It's part of the journey, but it's okay to deal with that, I would say.
Yeah, that idea of a beginner's mindset, right? When you are starting to investigate a new idea, and at the same point, you have to immerse yourself in every aspect of it. What were some of the other sorts of frameworks, or sort of how have you evolved sort of through the program in terms of your way of thinking about challenging and tackling the problem? What are some of your biggest takeaways?
I would say looking at the big picture. It's something that most people say they do, but they don't really do. And I was like that. Usually, in the day-to-day life, you have an idea and you go straight to, from A to B. What entrepreneurship and that program helped me realize is that you can go from A to B, but doing, a different path, it's not a straight line. And that's super important, I would say. And it helps you also in the personal life, because everyone's going to have up and downs, and you have things that you think you know, things that you don't know that you know also, and that's super important. So I would say having the big picture, trying to dig in all the subjects, but also I would say go with the flow, and I think going with the flow, it's something really important that I didn't really do much before, but what's going to happen is going to happen also at some point, so taking risks and going into an entrepreneurship career, or changing a career, or going, somewhere you've never been to, it gives you stress. It's something that you don't know, but if you're going to do it, it's always going to bring you something, and I think that's something I didn't really realize as much as I realize it now before the program.
Yeah. I think, interestingly, a lot of people, when they are going through an entrepreneurial journey, they do it. I almost think about them doing it unconsciously, not always, but a lot of the time they'll stumble across an idea that they can't let go of, right? And then they move forward and they create this company. And then once they're sort of working on the idea, they accidentally start speaking to people and they develop a community around them. Now, in Uprise's case, we obviously sort of foster that environment where we give you a community. How important was the community to you during this process of navigating uncertainty, meeting new people, talking to people who are at the same stage of things, challenging assumptions? How important were they? What value did you get from that?
Super important. Yeah. Super important. I think it's also something really weird, I would say, because it's I've met people and I know people, I would say maybe better than people I have met personally, but in that case we all met virtually and we connected on so many levels, on a personal and a professional level. That's incredible. And sharing, being able to discuss with the community, with people from all over the world, people that have ideas about space, or ideas about flowers, or it's so broad, the scope, and at the same time we all have the same energy, the same motivation, the same dots, but at the same time the same aim, that is, you want to develop and you want to own a company and launch an idea, and that feeling, I would say it's like the bonds that you have with your family. It helps you, it pushes you, it motivates you. So the community, and everyone is always available for a call or for a text, or to test everything. So the journey is not just you. You can have your company, only you, but the whole process from A to Z, it's with people and with community. Otherwise, I think it's complicated if you do it alone.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's kind of like that really unique, special blend of being with like-minded people, in the sense that they're going through the same, really extreme highs and extreme lows that you are. So obviously you're going to bond through those very emotional periods, I'm sure. But also you're like-minded in one way, but also so diverse in other ways. And that kind of diversity of thought as well is going to just help you to kind of, bounce ideas off and challenge each other, and make each other, push each other further as well.
And it can also give you a co-founder, for instance, if you're not able to launch it alone, by discussing and by knowing people that are in the same environment as you, maybe you can connect on a good level and decide, to jump on the adventure with that person or these persons.
Yeah. And so so far we talked about some of the challenges, but have you had any kind of moments so far where, they've been sort of your first real sort of success moments that have really spurred you on to keep going with this?
What do you mean exactly?
So have you had any sort of really like positive moments so far when you kind of, I don't know, everything suddenly felt real, or, you thought, yes, this is definitely like a valid idea that I want to go with, or any positive feedback or anything like that?
I think it was when we do the pitches, when you have to go in front of people and you have to, in a certain amount of time, present your idea quite detailed, on many levels, the business plan and what's exactly the purpose. And when you have positive feedback on that, that's the first step. For me, it means that there's a market and that people actually would pay for it, and would subscribe to the project. The second one is when they tell you they would do it, because the first time you assume, you're like, okay, it's positive feedback, but when you start speaking about it and they say, oh yeah, definitely, I would totally do it. When are you launching it? And what would be the services? When the discussion keeps going on, and people ask you questions, I think that makes me understand that yes, I need to do it. And also, I spoke with many people, and some said, okay, if you want, even if you don't have the website or the Instagram or so on, you just give me your number and then we can discuss, and then we can start it, so as long as there's one person that's willing to pay for the service, I think it's you need to do it, and for me it has been the case. I've been one customer but it's one customer, the objective then is to have 2, 3, 10, but just one customer is super cool, because it's something that you created from your brain and that's now out in the world. So that's cool, I think.
Yeah, I think there's also something quite tangible about, from your case, I think, once you actually launched a brand and created a brand, there's something about seeing that as a physical thing, right? Where you're like, I've taken this idea that was in my head, or this feeling, or these conversations I've had, and I've translated and condensed them into something which communicates in the world. And yeah, that is super, super exciting. Yeah, and then how do we follow you? Where do we find out what you're doing next? What are your plans? What are your big plans?
So the next big plan is to launch the website, where I will have the detailed services and all the information that you need. I started at an Instagram page, but it's also ongoing. But it's called Citrus. I guess you will be able to find the link in this chat. And the big next step also is to be able to go and meet people, just to present myself. Like we do often that in France, it's like breakfasts, where there's plenty of startups or fintechs where you just introduce yourself, and it's a contact. With the COVID, I'm not too sure it's going to be an easy task, but yeah, try to get customers now. That's the other step. But the most important step, I think, for me, it's keeping that joy and keeping that good feeling about that journey. I know I haven't launched it yet, but I don't pressure myself to be, like 1st of October, it's going to be ready, packed, and I will have 100 customers. I think it's a process, and I'm still enjoying it. So I think that's the most important part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. And final question before we wrap up would be, what would be your one main piece of advice, if you can whittle it down to just one, for anyone who is kind of in your shoes a few months ago, thinking that they might want to start something of their own, but not really sure where to start or whether they should jump off the cliff?
I would say don't think too much. Don't think too much and do it.
Yeah.
Just yeah, go ahead, because even if it's takes time and it's hard and you have doubts and whatever we said, the ups and downs, it's an adventure, and I think life should be about adventures and not about boring life and worries.
Yeah.
I would say that. So go ahead.
Yeah.
That is the right
I love
sentiment.
that.
Yeah.
What a good note to end on. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Caroline and Kyle, as well, for joining. Yeah, all the best. I'm really excited to see what happens. So yeah, wish you the best of luck with everything. And I'm excited to see the website and everything when it comes out.
I will work on all of that, and hopefully it's gonna work. Thank you for having me. And if you need a concierge, you know, or a personal assistant, there's interest.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, Caroline.